Mr. Microphone. So I already told them about you and what you did yesterday, which was awesome.
Okay.
So you had to do the same thing today.
That's totally fine.
So I will leave you with Gary.
Hi. How you guys doing? Whoa, that's loud. First of all, I have to ask, how many of you guys are younger than 20 years old? Younger than 20 years old. All right, I have never felt old in my life. This is the first day that I felt old in my life. How many of you guys have never, ever owned a CD before? All of you guys have owned a CD. Okay, this means that I'm definitely in Brazil. Because Brazilians love to buy music in a way that no one else in the world does anymore, which is totally fine. But hopefully, over the course of the next 30 minutes, I'll be able to teach you a little bit about the history of music that makes you think again about how you want to listen going forward, okay? Now, I was watching from the back earlier. I don't have anything to give away. I also don't have an air horn. I have nothing that makes a loud noise except for my voice, okay? So I apologize. This is probably going to be less entertainment and more education, but hopefully you guys are okay with that. You guys okay? All good? I like this. By the way, I'm from New York City. I live in New York City. I'm very lucky. This is the first time I've ever been in Brazil, first time ever, and I absolutely love your country. People here are so nice. I love it. See, if I was in the US and I said that, I would not get claps. People in New York would boo me because people in New York are mean. But Brazilians, you guys are nice. All right. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about me, okay? Not only am I from New York, but I grew up all over the world. I spent 10 years of my childhood in New Zealand. I moved to the United States in 1997. That's me. Now, throughout my life, music has always been very, very important to me. And there are a lot of different moments in my life where music has created the memory that I remember. Now, I could share with you a couple of these memories. I could share with you when I was 17 years old that I went to my high school prom, and there was an absolutely terrible song by Vitamin C that was famous that year. That was our prom song. I could share with you that when I was in university for the first year, I had to learn how to dance the Macarena, and I had to dance it almost every single month for 12 months. That was embarrassing. I could share with you that 7 years ago, I got married to the most beautiful woman in the world. Oh, see, I like that. And we played a Michael Bublé song for our first dance. Okay, that's embarrassing for me. She loved it. I hated the fact that we had Michael Bublé at our wedding. Or I could share with you that a few years after that, my wife and I lived out a lifelong dream of dressing up as Calvin and Hobbes during Halloween. But what's most impressive about that day is that we nearly got into a really, really big fight because of somebody who was really, really bad at karaoke. But I'm not going to share any of those stories. I'm going to share with you the story of this picture. That's me all the way on the right-hand side. So, you see the 3 guys in this picture. Actually, I can't count. There's 4 guys in this picture. See the 4 guys in this picture? The 4 of us were best friends in high school. And over the course of 4 years, we each got married, 1 per year. I got married first in 2007, then 2008, 2009, and in 2010, the last of these 4 guys got married. It's the tallest guy right there without the tie on. And this was his wedding. So 4 best friends from high school, this was the moment where all 4 of us were married. Now, when we were in high school, we became friends because of music, nothing else. One of these guys was one of the best athletes in the United States. One of them was a huge nerd. One of them was a troublemaker. And the last one was a great musician. I'm going to let you figure out who's who. I'm not going to tell you who I was, okay? But we fell in love with being together because of music. We would most people in the United States, they cut class to go do something stupid, right? They will cut class to go to the mall, to go watch the movies, to run around a field. We cut class to go sit in somebody's car and listen to music. That's kind of lame, but it's also kind of awesome. And at this wedding, at the end of the night, the four of us found each other with all of our wives, and we ended up singing and doing this. Now, there's only one song in the world, one song in the history of music that would make me look like this and make everyone around me look like that. Can anyone up here that I can hear, can anyone guess what that one song is? One song. No? All right, I haven't heard it yet. I'm gonna play. It's not the Macarena. That would be really bad if it was the Macarena. Let me play for you this one song. That's probably one of my favorite songs on earth, and that's what makes me do this. And that moment, I will never forget. Every time I hear this song, I think about this moment 4 years ago when I got together with 3 of my best friends and we celebrated the loves of our lives and we celebrated our life together. That is awesome. Now, I can imagine if I asked any of you guys to tell me a story that sounded like this, all of you could tell me at least one story just like that. And I know that for sure because I know, after talking to a lot of people over the course of the last few years, that everyone loves music, and it's because music matters to all of you because of moments, right? Music helps us remember moments like our graduation, our wedding, like mine, or the birth of a child. Most of you guys haven't experienced that middle one yet. Or music helps us get through our day. It helps us get through our morning commute, which I know in Sao Paulo is really, really, really bad. It helps us through our morning run, and it helps us when we want to have an intimate dinner with friends. That's why music matters, and it's important. And this is also why 8 years ago, our company was founded and launched. Because here's what happened. We noticed 8 years ago that we had a bunch of people who love music on one side, and then we had artists creating great music on another side, and there was a giant wall between them. They were disconnected. They did not understand each other. The people listening to music didn't know why the people making music were not making any money. And the people making music hated the people that were listening to music because they thought everyone was stealing music through piracy. So when we launched our company, Spotify, our goal was to take away the wall and have these two parties start talking to one another once again. Okay? 2008, these two guys in Sweden founded the company. Now, over the last few years, we've grown a lot. We've even changed our logo from what was a really, really kind of young company logo to a much more mature, old person logo now. Probably some of you guys think it's less interesting, but that's the new logo now. But over those few years that we've matured, the music industry has also changed a lot. The craziest thing is, however, that change is only a tiny, tiny sliver of about 40,000 years of change in music because of technology. 40,000 years. Every time music changed, it was largely driven by a change in technology. And so what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes, that's it, 10 minutes, we're going to walk through a brief history, not of time, but of music. Now, Dr. Hawking, this book, by the way, is 212 pages. I promise you that I don't have 212 slides here. Don't worry about this, okay? 40,000 years in 10 minutes. Here we go. All right. We're going to start. Oh, actually, I'm going to start with a warning. None of this is to scale, okay? None of it is to scale because I'm not a historian and I'm really, really bad with space and time. That's just a warning, all right? So let's start here. 40,000 BC, 40,000 years ago. We know that human beings were already making music with instruments 40,000 years ago, because we have discovered flutes made from ivory, made from animal bones from that long ago, okay? We jump ahead to 8,000 years, 8,000 before BC, and we found that people are already playing things that will eventually become the piano. These are stones from the New Stone Age that when you hit them, they make different noises. These stones are 10,000 years old, and they still work as instruments. Then we move into an era where all different kinds of civilizations start building the same kinds of instruments. Our technology lets us now build wooden structures, and our technology now lets us build strings. So starting from 2600 BC, we start seeing string instruments in Mesopotamia, in Egypt, and eventually in Greece. They all look very, very similar because of the changes in technology. About 500 years after that, we start seeing really, really complex instruments in Asia. This is a Chinese instrument called the erhu, okay? It's very, very complex. This instrument is over 2,000 years old. And in 800 AD, we start seeing the development of the voice as a true instrument. Now, these are monks, and the monks had a very specific type of song called the Gregorian chant. I'm going to say that again. It's a hard word to pronounce. Gregorian chant. Now, the Gregorian chant was developed because of advances in architecture. Technology let us build bigger and bigger churches using stone, and it created this amazing space where without a microphone, I can sing and hundreds of people could hear me. This is what Gregorian chant sounds like. You guys can kind of hear it. Now, during this time, a new kind of music also came up. It was called the cantiga, which meant there was a solo voice with instruments backing it up. So anyone here who has aspirations of becoming a pop star one day, anyone here, pop star, we got one, we got a couple over here. We got another one over there, back there, oh, more. If you want to become a pop star, you got to thank these guys from the medieval ages, because they started what we know as solo singers, okay? Starting from the cantiga in 1400 AD. All right, we're now in the 1500s. This is the Renaissance. Two really, really important things happened in the Renaissance for music. First thing is that people started playing in ensembles. So any of you want to be in a rock band? Who want to be in a band? This is who you thank. Same guys right here. You guys love music. I like it. You guys thank these guys because they started playing in ensembles in the 1500s. And secondarily, we created the printing press. The printing press made it so that for the very first time, we could print music and we could sell it. Before this, once you wrote a piece of music, you could perform it, but no one else knows how to perform it. Once the printing press was created and we could sell printed music, we can now replay something else that somebody has created. That's really important. You guys still with me, right? Good, thumbs up, good. Now, we're moving into the era of classical music, and especially into the era of famous composers. We have the Baroque period with Bach. We have the classical period with Mozart and Beethoven. Their music changed because we created instruments like the violin and the piano. These were instruments that allowed you to play and for hundreds of people to hear you, again, without the microphone. So that's when we started to create things like orchestras, was because of these guys and because of the instruments and the new technology. Moving on, we move into the Romantic period with Schubert, and then eventually into modern classical music with Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff. All right? Okay, here's where it gets interesting. From this point on, here's the warning. We're about to accelerate the development of music because of two things. Number one, we're going to start being able to record music. And number two, we're going to be able to broadcast or distribute music. This is where it gets really exciting. The last 150 years, music has changed so much because of these technologies. Let's start in 1857. What happened in 1857? The first recording device was built. It was called a phonograph. It's going to be really hard to hear because it's really loud, but I'm going to play the first recording of a human voice ever made, and it was made in 1860. Listen to it very carefully. That's a human voice. That human voice was recorded 150 years ago. Okay, that's exceptional. That's amazing. In 1878, Thomas Edison developed what we know as the phonograph or the gramophone, and this is when it really, really started. Because of the gramophone, we have records. Records are important. Who owns records here? All the old people, raise your hands, because I know all of y'all own records. Any of the younger guys, you own records? There's some younger guys who own records. Good for you if you own records. When the record was created, there was a massive competition for what kind of record made sense. The first record was one that spun at 78 revolutions per minute. 78. Then in 1948, a new record came along that spun at 33. And then a year later, a smaller record came along that spun at 45. 3 completely different speeds. Does anyone know which one won? Which one was the one that we still use today? Which of the 3? The second one. That's right, the middle one. 33 1/3 is the format that won. And it won because it could hold the most amount of music. Here's the interesting thing. Because of these 3 speeds, we established standards in the music industry that still exist today. And let me explain. The average length of a pop song, does anyone know what the average length of a pop song is? 3 minutes. The average song of a pop song right now is still 3 minutes to 3.5 minutes. Do you know why? It's because this first one over here, the 78, could only hold 3.5 minutes of music. That's why a popular song to this day is still, on average, only 3.5 minutes. Now let me ask you, how long is a normal album, an entire album? I heard 1 hour here, anyone? It's 45 minutes is the average album length. Why is the average album length 45 minutes? Because this middle one, on 2 sides, it holds 45 minutes of music. And lastly, do you guys know what an EP is? It's called extended play. It's how artists used to release singles. An EP is usually 4 songs and 15 minutes. And the reason an EP is 4 songs and 15 minutes, you guys can guess by now, is because this one, all the way on the left, holds 15 minutes of music. One of the coolest stories that I know about how technology has affected the way that we create music is that one day when the Beatles were recording the music at the height of their popularity, John Lennon turned to Paul McCartney and he asked him, "Hey Paul, how much music can we fit on one side of a 45? And Paul McCartney gave him the wrong answer. Paul McCartney said 7 minutes and 11 seconds. The correct answer is actually 7 minutes and 20 seconds. But because Paul McCartney said 7 minutes and 11 seconds, this song was created.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can start to make it better.
Hopefully you guys all know that song. It was written for one of their kids. but it was written to be exactly 7 minutes and 11 seconds to fill the entire side of a 45. So music that we know today, the length of music, the structure of music, all came from these technologies because of the change of this technology. All right, let's move on. While this was happening, another alternate timeline happened that was also really, really important. In 1920, the radio was created. First time there were radio stations, 1920. And in 1933, we created the FM radio. The FM radio was created because it carries the entire range of frequency that we can hear with our ears, which means it is perfect for music. And then in 1954, we created the transistor radio, a radio that can operate on batteries, which means for the very first time, music became portable. Okay, we couldn't carry music around with us before, but in 1954, we could. After 1954, things really started to get fast. 1962, this was invented. The compact cassette tape was invented by Philips. And in 1963, a company called Learjet, which makes airplanes, invented, does anyone know what this is? This is the 8-track. Oh, the 8-track. I love the 8-track. I've been in cars that have an 8-track player, and I love popping in an 8-track. But unfortunately, by 1975, the cassette tape had beaten out the 8-track, and the 8-track went into history. Here's the problem, though. The cassette tape itself actually didn't have a very long history. In 1979, the Walkman was invented, which was a huge deal. But guess what? 3 years later, 3 years, that's all it took. 3 years later, we invented the CD. Can you believe the CD is over 40 years old now? Nope, I can't do math. It's over 30 years old now. The CD is that old. 1982, the CD was invented. And in 1984, we got our very first Discman, and that changed the world. Music was now really, really portable. One cool thing, by the way, about the CD, which is the reverse of what I talked about when it came to records. Does anyone know how long a CD is? How long a normal CD can hold? How much music? It's not 50, it's 74 minutes. Does anyone know why? 70. Oh my gosh, we got a smart man over here. Anyone who wants an autograph, go find this guy. He's smart. He must be someone famous. 74 minutes because Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is exactly 74 minutes long. And we wanted to make sure that that Ninth Symphony can fit on one CD. That's why the CD is 74 minutes. 1984, the Discman was invented. And then in 1992, the world changed forever. Forever. Because we invented the MP3. This is when the music industry started to really freak out. They started to get scared. In 1998, the first MP3 player came out. This thing could only hold 20 songs. That's it. But it sold like hotcakes. Sorry, that's an American saying. It sold like pancakes. It was very popular. It could only hold 20 songs. 1999. This is a big one. 1999. Napster was founded. Suddenly, it became easy to transfer MP3s from one to another, and we got to steal music. Really easy to steal music. But you know what happened? Napster, even though it changed the world, Napster was only around for 2 years. Because 2 years later, the original version of Napster was shut down. And it was shut down because of this song. Oh, you're awake now. I love that, like a bunch of people falling asleep over here just woke up really suddenly. That song is called I Disappear, and it's by a band named Metallica, one of the greatest rock bands of all time. Their album had not launched yet, and somebody leaked I Disappear to Napster. When Metallica found out, they were pissed off. And Metallica, because of this song, sued Napster until Napster had to shut down. Except they had already changed the world. Most of you guys growing up here, anyone who's pretty much 20 years or younger, has grown up in a world where it's easy to steal music, where you could go your entire life and never buy music and still hear every single song that you want to hear in a lifetime because of Napster. In 2001, something else happened, and that was the launch of iTunes. iTunes broke up the album, broke it up. It meant that we could now buy single songs and not have to buy 20 songs at a time. And that led all the way to 2008 when Spotify was launched for the first time. But for the first time, for free, you could listen to any music in the world that you wanted, anywhere you want, anyhow. Now, that was the brief history. I promised 10 minutes. I think we hit 10 minutes. What does the world look like now? What is the world that you guys are going to grow up in, all of you youngins? And where are we going to take music going forward with technology? The world we live in has been changed in the last 20 years dramatically. And from 2000 to 2010, music nearly died. During those 10 years, music fell from being a $30 billion annual business to 15. The music industry was cut in half because of piracy. And very specifically, this is the chart I just saw you, it was because people stopped buying albums. You can see here, the album chart drop looks exactly the same as the music industry drop. That's a bad thing. We have to bring it back. Here's good news, though. Because of digital, because of technology, because of all of you guys listening to music on legal services like Spotify, the music industry has recovered. It stopped dropping, and it's starting to grow for the first time in 14 years. Music is alive again. It is starting to grow because of you guys. That's a great thing. And largely, it's because digital music now owns 64% of the entire pie. That's what's growing right now. And specifically in digital music, it's streaming. It's this green line that is growing the fastest. And at this point, streaming is 21% of the entire marketplace. Lots of numbers, I apologize, I know. But I'm excited about this because it means that 5 years ago, when we thought music was going to die, that's no longer the case. We, as a generation, and by the way, young guys, I am the same generation as you. You guys may not believe it, but we are the same generation. Because of the way that we're listening to music now, we have actually, with your help, started to turn music around again. That's exciting. One other thing I want to bring up that is important. All of you guys are using smartphones now, right? All of you guys using iPhones, Androids. This changes everything. It took us 16 years to get to 1 billion smartphones. It's going to take us take us 3 years to get to 2 billion smartphones. That's an incredible amount of growth. All right, I'm going to skip to the very end because you guys have hung with me for a very long time. What does the future look like? What do you think? I'm going to give you a couple of points to think about. This is what I believe that the future of music is going to bring us. Number one, everyone around the world is going to be able to access all the music that they want, everywhere, anytime. That's the access model. That's going to happen very soon. Number two, there's going to be far more intelligent discovery to a point when you turn on a music app, it should know what you want to hear without you telling it. Number three, what I call seamless continuity. That means when you're listening to music on your phone, if you walk into your house, it's going to start playing in your speaker system. If you walk out of your house, it's going to start playing in your headphones. If you walk into your car, it's going to start playing in your car. without you having to do anything. It's going to be seamless, and it's going to be always on. I believe there are going to be new formats and new concepts. Artists are trying to find new ways of producing good music that is not 3.5 minutes long, that isn't a 45-minute album. That, I believe, is going to change. And then lastly, I think that music is going to become a profitable business again. And that's really, really important to me. You guys still here? Still good? Guys, that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening to me. Hopefully, you guys learned something.
Pessoal, a gente tem tempo para uma perguntinha. Alguém quer perguntar alguma coisa para o Gary? Pode levantar a mão, eu traduzo. Oi? Questions? Here. Você não tem pergunta? Você está só me dando tchau? He just wanted to wave at me. Hey, hello, thank you.
What's up?
Lá atrás, então, uma pergunta. Vou passando o microfone até chegar aí, tá?
Gary, hi.
Hi.
Right at the beginning, you said that Brazilians buy music more than anyone else in the world. Is that the reason why it took Spotify so long to come to Brazil?
That's a very good question. It took us a long time because one of the things that's most important to us is that when we launch in a new country, I know that scream wasn't for me. What's really important to us is that we have local music. Brazilians, you guys love your local music. And so we wanted to take the time to get all of the local music we could before we launched here. That's why it took a long time. All right, I think that's it. Guys, thank you so much.